One of the aspects of Judaism that has been contentious within the Reform movement since its inception is the concept of the resurrection of the dead. The founding text of Rabbinic Judaism, the Mishnah, declares that one who denies the resurrection of the dead will be excluded themselves from life after death. And the great medieval sage Maimonides included it as one of the 13 principles of the Jewish faith. In short, it is the belief that at the end of time, when the Messiah arrives, the righteous dead will be physically, bodily resurrected. One of the citations from the Bible that Rabbinic Judaism based this on is from a poem in the book of Samuel reading, Adonai me'mit u'mechaye morid she'ol ve'ya'al. Adonai deals death and gives life, casts down into Sheol, and raises up. Two of the Hebrew roots here, yored and Allah, to go down and to come up, are central to this week's Torah portion. Much of the portion revolves around the action playing out between Joseph ruling Egypt and his brothers as they seek sustenance from Egypt during a famine. In it, Joseph is concealing his identity and has become the most powerful man in Egypt next to Pharaoh. Through a series of meetings and acts of trickery, Joseph comes to discern that his father Jacob is still alive, and in the end has his entire family come down to Egypt to live off the bounty he has collected. Down and up, Yored va'Allah, the children of Israel go again and again. And this idea, going down in order to go up, falling in order to rise, is the underlying idea behind the resurrection of the dead as well. Of course, the basic sense of our Genesis text is about actual geographical travel, but we see throughout that it is more than that. Those who follow the Torah year after year know the relationship between the people of Israel and Egypt. We sense the peril behind the choice to move the entire family to Egypt, even though at the time it was the best option. We know that centuries later a Pharaoh will arise who did not know Joseph and will oppress the Israelites greatly. And that is part of why moving from Canaan to Egypt is a downward action in the text. It is not only due to it being geographically south. We see it even in the early part of Joseph's story when he is sold into slavery down to Egypt, where he toils and languishes in Pharaoh's dungeon and eventually ascends to be the most powerful person in the land. In fact, his brothers think him dead after this ordeal. And to see him again in this week's portion is as if they are seeing a resurrected soul. They're frozen in their tracks, unable to even speak once he reveals his true identity. Perhaps this is the root of the Jewish tradition to say a particular blessing after not having seen a loved one after 12 months. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam mechayeh hametim. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who resurrects the dead. When he reveals his identity to his brothers, Joseph says, "Do not be distressed or reproach yourselves because you sold me into slavery. It was to save life that God sent me ahead of you, to ensure your survival on earth and to save your lives in an extraordinary deliverance. So it was not you who sent me here, but God." Joseph, in his connection to God and in his vision, sees that which was horrific in the moment, that which was rock bottom of his life, was part of a larger plan, part of a larger narrative of which only he was a small part. I'm not here suggesting that we each find the positive in every hurt, every pain, every horrific tragedy. Quite the contrary. Yored and Allah, falling and ascending, is at the core of the story of Joseph and his brothers and at the core of Jewish life. In fact, the great Hasidic mystic Rabbi Nachman of Breslov wrote, "The ultimate purpose of the fall is the ascent which follows." It is only that God presents us with a stumbling block for the benefit of the world, as our sages said, to teach teshuvah. Resurrection of the dead as a principle is itself a mode of teaching teshuvah. It provides Jewish theology a place for understanding a tangible purpose in the rise and fall of existence. That through doing teshuvah in our life, through being righteous, we'll be granted a rebirth after death. I do not necessarily believe this idea is a true scientific fact, but I do believe it is a particularly beautiful theme that can help us in this moment in particular. Rabbi Rachel Barenblad, on the subject of ascent and descent in Judaism, wrote, "This is the work of spiritual life as I understand it. There are times that feel like a descent into a pit, a fall away from God, even imprisonment in Pharaoh's dungeon. This is true both on the small scale of every human life and on the broader canvas of the nation or the world at large. But the thing about hitting bottom is that there's nowhere to go from there but up." It's not only true for us, but for our relationship with God. Rabbi Yisrael Hopstein, a third-generation Hasidic master, taught that God descends for us, enters into the tangible, material world in order to bring us sacred influences and motivations that will allow us to ascend. This, in short, is what revelation of Torah is on a wide scale, and is another parallel explanation of the principle of the resurrection of the dead. When we are at our lowest, when we feel that there is a wall of darkness before us that will not allow us to go on, we must seek this influence in the world. When we ourselves are in the pit, are in Sheol, the lowest point, the place that feels furthest from the divine, we can seek. We can use the holy gift of teshuvah, of atonement, to turn and turn again and to realign our perspective to find that spark of sacred influence around us. We can be as Joseph, able to find within our pain and our torment a way forward, maybe even just through a dream. As we enter into 2023, let each of us take a moment to find those things that are clinging to us, holding us down, making us feel as though we have descended too deeply, and within them locate a method for ascent. Let us revisit our situation from all sides, seeking our own resurrection, finding the direction we need to discover the spark of divinity within us and around us, and allow it to guide our way into the new year. May all of our descents lead to ascents, and may each of you climb to greater heights in 2023. Happy New Year and Shabbat Shalom.